My dears, nowadays the world is experiencing great changes, and the old way of thinking is passing away. So what is this old way of thinking? When we look at the both world and personal problems, when we analyze a little bit deeper that dissatisfaction we feel in our life, we can definitely come to the conclusion that the only reason, or one of the two or maximum three key reasons, is egoism. I mean the word egoism in the broad sense of its word. Any egoism. When we face the situation of state egoism, looking at how a big and strong country imposes its will on a small and weaker one, or when we see a person who doesn't care about the interests of his neighbor. So egoism means that you are sure that everyone and everything must serve you. It means that you are always right. It means that irrespective of your own mistakes, failures, and even crimes, you are not the guy who is at fault. So what is the foundation of egoism? It is definitely the idea that you are superior than the others, that you deserve more happiness, more comfort, more money, more glory, more prosperity than the rest. Because you just feel that you deserve it. You can't explain what is unique in you, but you feel that you can reach your own prosperity by means of others' unhappiness, by means of exploiting others. So this is a very important and maybe number one problem in the world, that we are not used to living in integrity, in unity, in cooperation. We have been taught to live by means of exploiting everything and everybody, by means of exploiting the resources of this planet first, by means of exploiting other people. Just we are friends with those who can serve us, who can do something good for us, something beneficial for us, but not just because they are really highly intelligent people with whom we are comfortable to deal with. We can learn something. So that's why all the poverty, all the wars, all the starvation, all the diseases, all the exploitation, man by man, state by state, the superior that exploit the inferior. So everything is based on egoism. And egoism is like an illness, a disease, because it narrows your own level of perception, reality perception. It means that you see from the world only your benefits, as you think they are benefits, and you don't take really valuable things. It's a great problem. And egoists are people who generally live as parasites. So they are not creators. They parasitize on others. And the fate of any parasite is evident: death. Because egoists create sin. And as Apostle Paul said, as far as I remember his words, the consequence of each sin is death. So what is the way out? Because when we look at what is happening now in the world, we come to the conclusion that the world has already come to its end. So either we transform our way of thinking and go into an integrated unity with the others, when we start seeing friends, brothers, sisters in everyone, when we stop killing animals, when we stop exploiting the resources of the planet, when we stop living in the capitalist society, or we will die. We will kill the nature, we will kill ourselves, we will kill our children, we will kill everyone. So the new way of thinking must be used and must be adopted by our minds. What are the key elements of this new way of thinking? The key elements are the following. We are not human beings, we are divine beings, and we have to live as divine beings. It means that you should respect yourselves. Respect to yourself means that you mustn't make others unhappy. You mustn't, you have no right to do it. So you must have an ecological living. So you must create, you must make this world better, not worse, in any aspect. First, then, the right way of thinking is when you start to understand different points of view. Not just these people are right and those people are wrong. No, just all points of views have a right to exist, but there is the truth. And the truth is, if people have created the negative karma, they have made it themselves, so they should just pay for what they have done. Nothing happens just in vain. Nothing happens just by chance. No. Everything has a reason. For example, if there is war somewhere, it means that people who live on this territory, they have created this karma by their wrong actions. And it's true. Either we want to hear it or not, because you know that I have mentioned many times that people don't like the truth. Of course, the truth is often unpleasant thing. For example, when you tell to a person you are a fool, it's not pleasant to hear. It's not pleasant to listen to, right? When you tell a person you are such a good person, right? I love you. Yes, it's so wonderful. Yeah, right, I love you too. But very often people are fools, idiots, criminals. And it is also reality. They don't want to hear it. And that's why they must be punished for their crimes. And the many don't understand it, but it is their problem. I think time is a good judge, and earlier or later, everything will be understood in the right way. Now I want to tell about other things. I want to tell you that we generally make and have been making the greatest mistake. The greatest mistake is that only our prosperity is important. The prosperity of our family, of our country, And what is there, what happens beyond the boundaries, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And it is wrong, because we live in the universe. We live in the common house. So this planet is our house. And we live on this planet. So it's impossible to solve your own problems by means of exploiting others and remain happy forever, because the karma you create will come to you and you will have to pay earlier or later, but always you have to pay. Personally, I have known one man who have tried with his family to avoid his karma, but he failed in it, because if you have to pay, you have to pay for all your deeds. For bad deeds you have to pay, no doubt you have. And what is important to say here is that this new way of thinking means a new way of acting. New way of acting means that you have to live on another foundation. This foundation has one common ground, that we are here like children playing in the sandbox. We are here for learning to be divine beings. And if we act like a divine being, we create very positive karma for ourselves and for our surroundings. And this is our number one target in this incarnation, that we should act like divine being, not like satanic being, not like demons, but like divine creatures. And by acting like this, we transform this planet Earth, and we put it into another reality. Many people think that if they have more money than the others, they can dictate their willpower to the others. They abuse their power, they impose their will on others. And I have met a lot of people like this, For example, I can share my experience with you about when I was a teacher at one rich family, and I taught English for the father, for the mother, and for the boy, who was 7 or 8 years old at the time. And I had a problem with my car. It broke, and it was a serious break. Serious for 2.5 months. It was in repair. And the place where I lived was very far from that place where my students lived. It was about 70 kilometers, right? And I needed money, of course. I had to work, and I had to get up very early in the morning to take a subway and go to the opposite side of Moscow, and then take a bus, and I had to stand and wait for the bus coming. It was -20, it was in winter time. And when I came to that family after my car had stopped, had been broken, I asked them for help, because they had all the cars they needed and one extra car. They just stayed at the garage and nobody drove it. The old Volvo. Nobody drove it, nobody. So, and nobody needed it. And I asked for that car. Of course, I would pay all the gasoline, maybe I would pay them for some money for the usage of this car, to go to them sometimes a week to teach them English. And they were so surprised that I dared to ask them for their car. And the father of the family, a rich businessman who had, and I think has, a company worth more than $100 million, he just was so surprised that he made his eyes around that I dared to ask him for the old car. And his wife, 30 years younger, by the way, than he, came to me and asked me why I think, why some people, she said, not I, but some people think that the others should help them in their difficulties. Why? Why so? At the same time, that woman, by the way, Ukrainian nationality, by coincidence, she considered himself to be a Christian and visited the church regularly. So they, of course, didn't give me any car, and I had to go to them and teach them English for 2.5 months without my car every day when we had lessons via all the Moscow. And it was terrible, it was hard time for me. And I couldn't refuse because I needed money for living. But after their refusal, their son, the only son, fell ill, and his illness was very strange. It was like catching a cold, sneezing, coughing, temperature, and nobody could understand anything because their medicine analysis, they were right, they were okay. And that illness, that cold, lasted exactly that during that time while my car was being repaired, 2.5 months. So when my car was finally repaired, he became healthy. What am I telling you about? That everything should be punished. Not me punished them, just with some magical tricks, no. But the God, the universe, the God of karma, I think. And that was immediate manifestation of punishment, immediate manifestation. They refused their teacher. They said, okay, you are much inferior than we. We pay you some money, very little money. Very, very, very for my work, because I taught all of them. And they were rather greedy people. But at that time I didn't have any choice. So just they said that you are inferior, you are something, just you are a teacher. And what car? You ask too much from us. We are rich, powerful, we live in this beautiful house, and so on. Right. I mean that everything should be transformed. Because there are no inferior people, there are no superior people. This is illusion. This is a criminal way of thinking. Because look at the whole history of the humankind during the last centuries at least. Exploitation. When Great Britain exploited the bigger half of the world, for example, how much money, gold, goods were taken, stolen, robbed from India. A lot, billions and billions. and from other countries as well. The so-called the era of colonization is just a very, very dirty spot on the European history, on the European white suit. It's covered deeply in blood, because the prosperity of many European countries and the United States as well, it's based on exploitation of the so-called inferior people, inferior nations. Just you think they are inferior, okay, they can be less developed in some aspects. They can be not as smart as you are. They can be not as rich as you are. Of course, they can be so, but the God created like this, and they have a right to exist and to create their own future without being exploited, just by the fact that they are inferior. The same with the animals. How many animals are killed every day? How many animals are killed every day? So you go to a restaurant, so nice beef steak, medium or raw, how would you like, sir? Right? And this is a very big sin, because you can be fed nowadays with so much food, so it's very diversified, but you need meat, and to take meat, the animal must be killed before it, right? So how many tons of blood, rivers of blood, are created every day to feed your desire to eat meat? It's a big sin. It's a great sin, and people who do it, they make their karma negative karma. And when we stop killing, when we stop exploiting, the world will start a new living. So that's why egoism is the foundation of any crime, because any crime is based on egoism, on the idea that others can be used without their asking for my own benefit, for my own prosperity. And it must be eliminated forever, if we want to see this world a better place for living. When I hear that this world is bad, I ask why this world is bad. Why? This world is bad just because people make wrong things. That's why it is bad. The nature itself, it's not bad. But what we make is bad. What we make is incorrect. The majority are very weak to make right actions. Of course, it's easier to steal than to earn. It's easier to kill than to give birth. It's easier to cut than to grow. It's easier, much easier. But you should remember that you must pay for it. And very badly that very often children have to pay for the sins of their parents. And they have to pay many generations afterwards. The Bible is not a simple book. There are some things that are not true in it, but there are things that are very, very true. And in the Bible, it's there, it's written that children have to pay. And I have seen some examples of it in my own life experience. I can add more. Children always have to pay. Always. That's why parents should think first. Either they should commit a crime or maybe not, because their children will pay for it. I don't know if you like to hear it or not, but in fact it doesn't matter much, because the truth very often is an unpleasant thing to listen to. We as we are is the reason of everything. If we see crimes, if we see abuse of power, if we see exploitation, it means that we are responsible for it. What have we done to stop it? What have we done to create another reality? Of course, you may say that we are not taking part in it. It's very good. It's very good. But the many take part. The many take part, blaming others, that, look, you are at fault. Why have you done it? Of course, it must be the reason for it. So, for today, I think it's enough information. I will be ready and happy to see your commentaries, to see your point of view. Maybe one more thing to add. If you tell me that what can we do because we are just ordinary people, I can say that if you start living like divine beings, you will always live in peace and harmony, and no tragedy, no war, no unhappiness will touch you. Because you, first of all, don't associate yourself with this negativity, with this abnormality from the outside world. You will live a peaceful life, irrespective of what happens outside. You will see everything like in the cinema. You are just a watcher. You are not a participant of all that happens. That's why you can take a good contribution in it. You can go out of this madness, common madness that we see nowadays in the world. You can become a watcher. You can become an observer. Don't take part in it. And you can make good things in your own world. Good things to your neighbors, good things to your parents, good things to your children, good things to people who are just unknown for you, but who deserve your help, because they are good people. That's what you can do. And it is a really good contribution. Thank you.